From JBS Studios in Greater New York, this is the JBS News Update with Teisha Bader.
I'm Teisha Bader with the JBS News Update for Tuesday, March the 15th, 2022. A virtual address from Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelenskyy to members of Israel's Knesset will reportedly take place this Sunday evening. This according to Israeli news site Walla. We had told you last week that Zelenskyy had requested to speak to the Knesset, which is in recess, so the Zoom call was suggested as an alternative, with the hope that as many members of Knesset attend as possible. Israeli Prime Minister Naftali Bennett, as we reported to you, spoke over the phone Saturday night with Zelenskyy. And the Times of Israel reports that he then also held a phone call with Russian President Vladimir Putin last night, all part of Israel's efforts to help mediate an end to the war in Ukraine. Meanwhile, talks between representatives from Russia and Ukraine resumed today, the fifth round of such negotiations. And Israel's Foreign Minister Yair Lapid wrote today that he just finished a long and positive conversation with Ukrainian Foreign Minister Dmytro Kuleba. Tweeting, the minister thanked Israel for our mediation efforts and our position on the matter of sanctions. That position apparently referring to Israel supporting sanctions against Russia. And Lapid tweeted yesterday while in Slovakia that Israel will not be a route to bypass sanctions imposed on Russia by the United States and other Western countries. Looking now at some other news, a rare unified statement from all 25 Jewish Democratic members of Congress. This in response to remarks reported by the Jewish Insider made by Amnesty International USA's Executive Director Paul O'Brien. Citing the recent Amnesty report released in February that accused Israel of apartheid, the statement released yesterday reads, O'Brien has now taken a new, very disturbing step, purporting to speak for the entire Jewish community on Israel. He claimed his gut tells him what Jewish people in this country want is that Israel shouldn't exist as a Jewish state, but rather a safe Jewish space. The lawmakers write that while they represent diverse views on a number of issues relating to Israel, we are in full agreement that Mr. O'Brien's patronizing attempt to speak on behalf of the American Jewish community is alarming and deeply offensive. We stand united in condemning this and any anti-Semitic attempt to deny the Jewish people control of their own destiny. The Jewish Insider reported those comments, as well as others from O'Brien, made at a gathering of the Women's National Democratic Club in Washington, D.C. last week. O'Brien, since the Jewish Insider report came out, said his remarks were misreported and taken out of context. Jewish Insider then shared audio and the transcript from the gathering, which includes O'Brien also saying that while Amnesty supports Israel's right to self-determination, it is not Amnesty's position. In fact, we are opposed to the idea, and this, I think, is an existential part of the debate, that Israel should be preserved as a state for the Jewish people. Later saying Israel should exist, just not as a Jewish state. CEO of the Anti-Defamation League, Jonathan Greenblatt, wrote a letter to the Secretary General of Amnesty, Dr. Agnes Kalamard, about, he tweeted, the organization's ongoing hostility towards Israel, including its anti-Israel apartheid report, and arrogant and disturbing comments by Amnesty USA Director Paul O'Brien about Jews and the Jewish state. Taking a look now at our programming for tonight on JBS for Tuesday, March the 15th. At 7 o'clock, Rabbi Ammiel Hirsch talks about his 30 years as a rabbi. At 7:30, Ellie Cohanim speaks with Monika Ekiert, the Polish actress who recently discovered her Jewish roots. At 8, what led to the war in Ukraine and how will the EU, US, and greater global community respond is explored by Simone Rodan-Benzaquen, Radosław Sikorski, Matt Karnitschnig, and Vladislav Davidzon. At 9, it's L'chaim with Judy Gold, who talks about her Jewish background and her work in comedy. At 9:30, the mysteries of Purim are explored by Rabbi David Forman. At 10, Representative Jamie Raskin talks about his book, Unthinkable: Trauma, Truth and the Trials of American Democracy with Abigail Pogrebin. And coming up next, it's the ILTV's Insider. And that's the JBS News Update for Tuesday, March the 15th, 2022. I'm Teisha Bader. Stay healthy, stay well.